Looking forward this edition of The Burning Question.
All right, thank you so much, Deepthi. You know, the fact that Rahul Gandhi is entering Delhi tomorrow, so it's going to be all day Bharat Jodo Yatra in the coverage. But another important development took place today. We thought we discuss some aspects of society with that. After almost 2 decades, serial killer Charles Sobhraj was released from Kathmandu Central Jail today. Hailing from France, the ill-famed murderer was held responsible for killing several young foreigners in the 1970s across Asia. Nicknamed the Bikini Killer and the Serpent, Sobhraj was serving a life term in Kathmandu since 2003 for the murder of American woman Connie Jo Bronzich in 1975. For reasons of his age and good behavior, Charles got an early release by about a year. Take a look at what transpired today as the serial killer Charles Sobhraj walked free. And then we go to Kathmandu, where Alicia is reporting live for us, and of course the cop who caught him in Goa in the 1970s.
After a wait of 19 long years, Charles Sobhraj, a Frenchman of Indian and Vietnamese parentage, was finally released from a Nepal jail.
देखिए अभी गाड़ी बाहर निकल रही है, इसी में चार्ल्स सोबराज को शायद हो सकता है लेकर जाया जा रहा है। तस्वीर आपको दिखा रहे हैं सबसे पहले रिपब्लिक टीवी पर कि चार्ल्स सोबराज को एयरपोर्ट लेकर जा रहे हैं। इस गाड़ी में देखिए आगे पूरी पुलिस की गाड़ी है, नेपाल पुलिस की गाड़ी है, जिसमें चार्ल्स सोबराज की सिक्योरिटी को लेकर पूरी सिक्योरिटी टाइट की गई है। और बीच की एक और गाड़ी है, उसमें भी देखिए चार्ल्स सोबराज की सिक्योरिटी, और ये थर्ड गाड़ी में चार्ल्स सोबराज को लेकर जा रहे हैं। ऐसा कहा जा रहा है कि थर्ड गाड़ी में चार्ल्स सोबराज को लेकर गए हैं एयरपोर्ट के लिए।
The 78-year-old murderer left for Doha from Nepal, where Republic was the only channel who tried to ask him his next course of action.
Mr. Charles, please.
Mr. Charles, what's lies ahead? Mr. Charles, what's lie ahead for you now? Mr. Charles, are you really think the France will be safe for you?
It is learned that Charles will now settle and look after his health and family in Paris. The serial killer chose France because it is said that there are no criminal cases registered against him there. All eyes will be on Charles Sobhraj's next move and also if Indian agencies will pursue him. Bureau Report, Republic TV.
All right, what are we discussing? As we speak, friends, you know, Charles Sobhraj must be on a flight to France via Qatar, we are told. Is the story of Charles Sobhraj, the murderer, over as we have known it through the movies, through the series on the OTT platforms, and the kind of media sensation he became in that era when there were no social media? You know, we are trying to connect with Alicia. She has reported live all day on this story from Kathmandu, and exclusively for Republic. There was nobody else from India there on the ground covering the story. Alicia, just 2 questions to you. First one, tell us what has happened through the day in Kathmandu around the Charles Sobhraj release. What is the position that the Nepal administration taken, and is he already on board a flight out of Nepal to France?
It was the bail to Charles, and specifically on the grounds of health, because the application that was given to court, it was clearly mentioned he's aged, and also he's been suffering from a various illness. Moreover, there is an open heart surgery which he has to undergo. Also, the age that has been mentioned, it is 78, so which is why the court has really considered that. And importantly, he has served 19 years of imprisonment in Nepal. And at that point of time, talking about the today's development, because today, right after he came out of the central jail in Nepal, after which he was taken to the immigration department, where his legal team was also present. Because what is mentioned by the Supreme Court is that he has to be deported at his home country within 15 days.
Home country within 15 days. So here was the legal team was really supposed, like right after the immigration department, the procedure which will be completed in the immigration department, they will admit him to the hospital in Nepal. But the direction that came from the authorities of Nepal government that he has to be deported to his home country as early as today. So all the procedure from his legal team has started to deport him from Nepal. And we even saw today the time he reached airport, the way he was walking, it was clearly showing the happiness that he was going through, because from the several years, we know that from the 1960s, where the crime that is he's been committing and the arrest that has been made, whether from Paris or whether it is in India, and there are several cases that has been registered not only in Nepal but also in India, Pakistan and the other countries as well.
Right, Alisha.
So he's been trying to dodge all those authorities, which is why he's been named as a serpent. But today we saw that he was freely walking.
Yeah.
He went and there were several even people who have been present in the same airport just to see whom they have been seeing in a OTT platform since years. And today there was a large number of people who was also present just to see the glimpse of Charles. And as we even saw that finally he is already onboarded, because his flight from Nepal is via Doha to Paris. Yes.
Alisha, that brings me to my second and last question to you before I let you go. Who were people around him when he took that flight, came out of the jail and took that flight in Kathmandu? Was his Nepali family there? We know that in 2008 he got married to a woman there in Kathmandu while still in prison. Were those people there, and what was the sentiment on the ground? What kind of send-off he was given by the people in Nepal? Were they curious about this criminal, or there was just media sensation and people were not concerned? Just give us a sense of what was happening in Kathmandu with the people around there. We were told that there were some authors and some writers who had flown down from all over to just have a look at how the process happens of Charles Sobhraj's release and possibly try and connect with him, meet him, talk to him. Nothing of that happened. But who are these people who had traveled from around the world? And of course, as I mentioned, the family.
Well, these people that I have witnessed are these are the local people who were actually waiting at the air
to be deported to his home country. So the people who have been watching him through the OTT platform, they've been hearing him since years, because we know that the crime that he has committed and specifically being called as a serial killer. So the people was very much curious about it, because they've been hearing about him. They've been watching a series about him. There is an OTT platform. They've been looking about it. So these are the common people who were there actually waiting, because we even saw that there was police deployment. If you see the police deployment, there was large police deployment who actually, from the time he reached the airport till the time he deported the flight, till the time he bought the flight, there was the police all in around him. So that was the people who've been asking about. It was the common people. Of course, there are some of the people from the other countries as well.
There are some of the people from the other countries as well, who flown down just to see the glimpse of Charles. And specifically today, what I have witnessed, because I was there present in the Kathmandu airport, and that airport, the literally gathered, because there were police deployment who had actually making a side of those people. They were making a space for.
Yeah. People were there, and Charles was released from the jail and is now on board a flight flying to Paris. Let's discuss, what this really means in terms of the society and how it treats a criminal. Joining me, the cop who caught him from Goa in the 1970s, Madhukar Zende, and psychologist live from Delhi, criminal psychologist Nisha Khanna, live from Delhi. I'll go to each one of them one by one. And, as I said, through this conversation we are going to have over the next 10 to 15 minutes, we are going to understand the response of a society to a criminal as hard-headed as Charles Sobhraj. Mr. Zende, welcome, good evening. And, no hype, no celebrity. We are not showing Charles Sobhraj because he's some kind of celebrity, but we are just trying to understand, how does the mind of a criminal like this work? And through you, we want to understand, because you caught him there. When you caught hold of him, what was his reaction? Did he immediately surrender? Did he resist? Did he, try to talk you out of it? What was his first reaction when you caught him in Goa at that time?
I caught him on 6th April 1986 in Hotel Coquero. While he was sitting, I was keeping watch on him. And then at an appropriate time, I went and bounced on him and caught him. So first thing I did was to announce that, hello, Charles. So he just showed surprise. Who's Charles? Are you crazy? I said, don't forget, I had caught you in 1971. The moment he heard that, he realized that he is completely trapped. He tried to go for his bag in which he had hidden a revolver. But my colleague picked it up and then he slumped. He realized that he can't do anything. Then he was absolutely normal. Didn't try to resist or try to run away because
he tried to con you by saying that he's not Charles Sobhraj first, and then he tried to catch hold of his gun as well.
He explained that who's Charles? Are you crazy? He thought that he will just brush me off. But when he realized that I put a hand on the right person, surrender.
Okay, there seems to be some glitch there. Yeah. All right. There seems to be some glitch with your video, Mr. Zende. I'll try to reconnect with you. But then Nisha Khanna, Mr. Zende, I'll come back to you. I have to involve Miss Nisha Khanna as well. She's a criminal psychologist, and let's try to understand Nisha Khanna. About 40 years ago, the Canadian criminal psychologist, and you might have read him, Dr. Robert Hare, he drew up an innovative checklist to determine what kind of people can be psychopaths. And some of these things that I was going through, the person who's a psychopath is a pathological liar, is a glib talker, throws superficial charm, has a grandiose estimation of self, possibly connected with juvenile delinquency, sexual promiscuity, criminal versatility, and of course lack of remorse. Almost every trait perhaps seen in Charles Sobhraj, Ms. Khanna. You think some events in his life would have led to a situation he became a criminal psychopath?
Yes, definitely. That's not, because if you see his history in last 40 years, and from the very juvenile age, he was involved into the theft, car theft, stealing, and then the history of murders, helping the criminals, how to save the criminals, and the series of murders. So if you see throughout his life history, he has done crime. And his trait must be seen from the very younger age, because from the juvenile age, when a person is involved into the, you can say, antisocial traits, it was leading towards the psychopathic symptoms. And especially he was famous for the murders of the females to make them into a particular attire, which you mentioned it here also, Bikini color. So it's not the normal person do. So what the psychopaths do something which is not normal and use all their IQ or to manipulate, to have the superficial charm, to involve people in their communication skills and just clear everything up. And the way he make up the stories, how he involved people and how he forged people. It's all talked about all these traits at a go. And I'm surprised if he's out even after 20 years. And in between, he was on and off out of the jails also. That's why his on Netflix, on the BBC, his movies about his life came out of it. So if you will see that I think so, it's a threat to a society. What sort of work he will do when he's out? Because inside the jail, he was the person.
If he's such a threat, I have a second question to you. If he's such a threat, I have a second question too. Why the society does not see him in that kind of threat? We were told yesterday by senior advocate of the Supreme Court, K.K. Mannan, who was amicus for Charles Sobhraj in Delhi, that he made a lawyer, while appearing in the courts, he made a woman lawyer fall in love with him and she married him in Delhi. Similarly in the case of Nepal, he married in 2008 Nikita Biswas, who happened to be the daughter of the lawyer who was assisting Charles Sobhraj despite his conviction and despite knowing everything about him. So what makes society or some elements within the society, not see psychopaths like Charles Sobhraj as they should be seen, as psychopaths?
The basic thing is, I think so, because it's the charming personality people get attracted towards, and he formulates the entire persona of his own that he can attract or manipulate people in such a way. That's his skill set. That is his skill set. That's why we are today talking about, after 20 years of his release, we are still talking about he's into the old age. We are not talking about he's in the young age, he's doing thefts and he's stealing and the murders. Because the sir is talking that he caught him in 1986. First time he caught in 1971. And today is 2023. You just see that this person has so much of charm. We are talking about this person and all the negative history about this. And what you are talking about, that's why I'm saying it. I am actually worried.
Right.
What is the future of the society? These such criminals will be like open arm and will move in the society here and there without any fear, where the government is releasing such criminals. Because the psychopaths should need the treatment, psychiatric treatment.
Mr. Zende, when you were having that conversation about your engagement when you arrested Charles Sobhraj in Goa in that hotel, your video freeze. But I'm coming back to this conversation. You mentioned about his reaction that he denied himself being Charles Sobhraj, when you caught him. But then subsequently, he might have been in your custody for a few hours, possibly for a couple of days. You might have engaged with him more than a couple of times. You ever got a glimpse of Charles Sobhraj as having some kind of remorse or, fear of the prison, fear of death penalty? You thought that he had those fears, normal human fears, or he was absolutely immune as a psychopath to all these emotions that come in the mind of a man who's facing police, who's facing law, who's facing criminal justice system?
I don't know about psychopaths, but I found that he was a very, very brash person. He had no respect for Indian police or Indian judiciary. He always talked with contempt. When I tried to talk to him, he just told me, "You're done your duty. Now I'll do whatever I want to do. Just keep quiet." Yeah. And then we traveled actually from 10:30 to 2 o'clock in the morning, afternoon to Mumbai. Throughout, he just kept mum. He refused to talk on any subject. He just kept quiet. He was a very, very shrewd person because he thought that he knows law. Right. He himself used to defend himself. And he was a very calculated criminal. He was not psychological case, I feel. He was a calculated criminal. He definitely lured women and then made them believe that he's going to marry, he's going to make them happy, make them rich, and then he brutally murdered them. He was absolute, very, very terrorizing criminal. He had no faith in any humanity, some respect for human, nothing. He was absolutely very, very crooked criminal.
Yeah. And crooked criminal, full of himself, conning everyone, shrewd, and a threat to society. Between you and Ms. Nisha Khanna, the traits that you have listed for Charles Sobhraj, Mr. Zende, it's clear that he checks all the points that were there in the checklist of Canadian criminal psychologists, about whom I mentioned, Dr. Robert Hare, about what makes a psychopath. Hopefully, the Charles Sobhraj story is over with him flying out of Nepal and onwards to his home country, France. On that note, we come to the end of this edition of The Burning Question. We brought you live all those developments from Kathmandu earlier in the day, and a short break now. After that, the debate is back.
Amity has been ranked among the top universities globally for producing the most employable graduates by the Times Higher Education UK. Yet another testimony to Amity's excellent placement record.
Congress party is protesting outside the parliament in front of Gandhi statue.
The AIADMK party has called in for a statewide protest today against the DMK government.
BSF troops shot down a park drone in Punjab's Gurdaspur district after the BSF troops fired 37 rounds.
A former union minister tying the laces of Rahul Gandhi.
25 kilogram of heroin has been recovered by the BSF.
The Kashmiri Pandits here in Jammu are staging protest against Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha.
US State Department has slammed the Taliban after the Afghan government banned women from private and public universities in Afghanistan. Local TDP leader Ibrahim was brutally murdered in Narsalaropet, Palnadu district. The gangster turned terrorist Harry Chatta travelled through a fake passport. Now an FIR has been registered.
Congress party is protesting outside the parliament in front of Gandhi statue.
The AIADMK party has called in for a statewide protest today against the DMK government.
BSF troops shot down a Pak drone in Punjab's Gurdaspur district after the BSF troops fired 37 rounds.
A former union minister signed the laces of Rahul Gandhi.
25 kilogram of heroin has been recovered by the BSF.
The Kashmiri Pandits here in Jammu are staging protest against Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha.
US State Department has slammed the Taliban after the Afghan government banned women from private and public universities in Afghanistan. Local TDP leader Ibrahim was brutally murdered in Narsalaropet, Palnadu district. The gangster turned terrorist Harry Chatta travelled through a fake passport. Now an FIR has been registered.
Congress party is protesting outside the parliament in front of Gandhi statue.
The AIADMK party has called in for a statewide protest today against the DMK government.
BSF troops shot down a Pak drone in Punjab's Gurdaspur district after the BSF troops fired 37 rounds.
A former union minister signed the laces of Rahul Gandhi.
25 kilogram of heroin has been recovered by the BSF.
The Kashmiri Pandits here in Jammu are staging protest against Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha.
US State Department has slammed the Taliban after the Afghan government banned women from private and public universities in Afghanistan. Local TDP leader Ibrahim was brutally murdered in Narsalaropet, Palnadu district. The gangster turned terrorist Harry Chatta travelled through a fake passport. Now an FIR has been registered.
Congress party is protesting outside the parliament in front of Gandhi statue.
The AIADMK party has called in for a statewide protest today against the DMK government.
BSF troops shot down a Pak drone in Punjab's Gurdaspur district after the BSF troops fired 37 rounds.
A former union minister signed the laces of Rahul Gandhi.
25 kilogram of heroin has been recovered by the BSF.
The Kashmiri Pandits here in Jammu are staging protest against Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha.
US State Department has slammed the Taliban after the Afghan government banned women from private and public universities in Afghanistan. Local TDP leader Ibrahim was brutally murdered in Narsalaropet, Palnadu district. The gangster turned terrorist Harry Chatta travelled through a fake passport. Now an FIR has been registered.
Mr. Charles?
Please.
Mr. Charles, what's lies ahead? Mr. Charles, what's lie ahead for you now? Mr. Charles, are you really think the France will be safe for you?
I second.
US State Department has slammed the Taliban after the Afghan government banned women from private and public universities in Afghanistan. Local TDP leader Ibrahim was brutally murdered in Narsalaropet, Palnadu district.
The gangster turned terrorist Harry Chatta travelled through a fake passport. Now an FIR has been registered.
Congress party is protesting outside the parliament in front of Gandhi statue.
The AIADMK party has called in for a statewide protest today against the DMK government.
BSF troops shot down a Pak drone in Punjab's Gurdaspur district after the BSF troops fired 37 rounds.
A former union minister tying the laces of Rahul Gandhi.
25 kilogram of heroin has been recovered by the BSF. The Kashmiri Pandits here in Jammu are staging protest against Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha.
US State Department has slammed the Taliban after the Afghan government banned women from private and public universities in Afghanistan. Local TDP leader Ibrahim was brutally murdered in Narsalaropet, Palnadu district.
The gangster turned terrorist Harry Chatta travelled through a fake passport. Now an FIR has been registered.
Congress party is protesting outside the parliament in front of